You are now locked in to the Sitting Down with the Sisters podcast.
Hi guys.
Welcome back to the Sitting Down with the Sisters podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ayo.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Temi.
And welcome back to another episode.
Shout out to those of you guys who actually engaged in our... No, I'm actually being kind today.
Okay.
You know, it's on my heart. Thank you to everyone that commented on our last video, that's following us on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, just showing us love, reaching out, you know, telling us how much you enjoyed the last 2 episodes. It means a lot.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you for always supporting. We appreciate you all. Everyone that's watching, please subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers.
Wow.
So,
Which is big.
Crazy.
you know, follow us as we follow Jesus
Right
Christ.
now.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Anyways, let's get straight
Wow.
into the episode.
Yeah.
I was watching The Real. If you watched The Real, let me know in the comments. But they're a daytime TV show in America. They're a talk show. There's 4 hosts. And they were discussing emotional dumping and venting and whether your partner should be your therapist. So then it made me just think, like, on a broader scale, should your partner and your friends be your therapist? And what is the difference between emotional dumping and venting to your friends? So I feel like we should establish what the difference is between emotional dumping and venting, because I feel like they can seem like the same thing. But
I feel like there's a thin line between the both. I would say maybe venting is essentially confiding and letting someone know, okay, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going through. Whereas emotional dumping can essentially be expecting the other person to do something about it and take action on your behalf, essentially. I don't know if that makes sense. That's how I see it.
It makes sense, but I don't see it that way, you know. I think venting, there is a thin line, definitely, but I think venting is genuinely like just literally, because we all have bad days. We all have times when things don't go our way, and it's only right to tell our friends, tell our families, the people around us. That's what I think venting is. But emotional dumping, I think it's more on the extreme end. So the only bit I didn't agree with was the bit where you said maybe someone, like, they expect someone to take action. I think it's genuinely like the word dumping, like like excess load of like information, just literally pouring it on someone and not knowing the difference, like not knowing when to stop or when, you know, when the bag is full. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're literally just dumping. And it can also go into other things as well, such as like not necessarily caring about what the other person is going through, not even asking how your day is going, not even asking, also, what's up with you?
But the start of the conversation is always
like straight into it, dumping, not even knowing if that person's ready to talk. You're just ready to let it all out, and
head first, dive in.
And once you're done, it's like, okay, I'm done now. That's what I think that's what I think dumping is.
Yes.
What about you?
I think I agree a lot more with what Tem was saying, but the vent I agree with. The emotional dumping, it was the end part about the expectation. I don't think that people that emotionally dump have that expectation. I think venting is more intentional versus emotional dumping being very sporadic and like very
there's a lack of self-awareness.
Exactly. So with venting, it's like, like I would do to you guys. So I'm going through something and I'm just like, I just needed to let this off my chest. I just wanted to tell you guys, and that's venting. I mean, you don't really go on and on. You just express it in that moment.
Express it and then done.
And
With emotional dumping, what I've noticed, I feel like the definition is when people just use you as like, oh, okay, I'm going through something right now, and I just need to just throw it out and just be spewing. One, you don't really ask the person that you're emotionally dumping on, are you in the right place to like hear this right now? And I think the specific thing with emotional dumping is that it's very like, it's not something that the person that's receiving it gets control over. It's basically, they're always just used as like a bag, dumping ground. So it's like you literally see that person calling sometimes, and you'll be like, you don't want to pick up
because you know that it's going to be
about them, and it's going to be heavy. That's what I would call emotional dumping. And there's never, and with emotional dumping relationships as well, there's not usually a balance. It's usually you're just their therapist, or you're their like bag to throw things into. But if it's just message you to be like, oh, you're alright, like, is everything okay? That's not really part of your relationship. That's why I would just like deciphered.
I see what you're both saying. I see, because I genuinely believe, I see what you're saying, but I genuinely believe there's some people when they emotionally dump, and when I say expectation, I don't necessarily mean for you to take the problem away, but it's almost like they expect you to always be there, to always answer the phone, to always like be, to kind of be there. What's that word? What's that word when you're somewhere, you always give, and then you have to be the one to just take it all. That's what they're expecting. Not necessarily something physical, but to almost be like you said, like a sponge.
I think what you're saying is like it's an entitlement then.
Yeah.
I agree with that then. Yeah. I think
that as well.
It's like a thing where it's like,
like, because you're my friend,
you're gonna hear, like, or sorry,
go ahead, babe.
I was just gonna say maybe even the entitlement is like, they expect you to feel exactly how they're feeling, or like come on 10 with them. So say they're coming to you like, this happened
to carry
me,
their burden,
and they almost want you to
like,
how could they do that to you? Blah 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 blah, and like reach them in their emotion. Where it's like that's not even healthy. Sometimes you actually need not to do that. So I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I could be wrong in saying this, but I feel like with dumping, there's no room for like solutions.
Yes.
It's literally
problem.
There's no solution. It's not solution orientated, but whereas
venting
yeah, they're open to hearing wise counsel.
It's just like, okay, where do we go from here? I know this is how you feel, but what
how do we move forward? Yeah,
that's true.
But with dumping, there's no purpose. It's just literally
to shout
and just let it all out.
And because I feel like when people emotionally dump, even if I think sometimes it's not intentional. So if you feel like you're maybe an emotional dumper, don't necessarily feel negative about what we're saying. You might not be doing it intentionally, but you could just check.
A lot of the time,
sometimes it's
and a lot of people don't realize that they're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but what I would say is a lot of the time when people emotionally dump, when you are the person that's hearing it, for instance, when they are then offering solution or offering some advice, they're not really trying to hear it. They just they'll keep circling back to, but they did this to me, but this happened, and it's just a very negative conversation. And it's usually really a lot of the time.
And I think it's very important to note that when it comes to emotional dumping, it's important to note that I don't personally think it's a problem per se when it's done maybe once. It's a build up of constantly doing it. That's when it becomes emotional dumping, and then that's when the other person's like can label it as that. It's just like they're just dumping on me now. If it happens once, we can all have those days, you know, where it can be dumping, 100%. But it's like I just need to let it out. And, you know, some friends don't mind. I don't mind my friends emotionally dumping on me at all.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? But it can get draining if it's constant.
And I feel like that's
non-stop.
I feel like that's why the word dump is there versus emotional spill or like emotional, because what you're saying is what makes it a dump is where it's become excessive.
Exactly.
Like when
it's when it's overwhelming.
When it's overwhelming, like literally it's just a pile and pile. Like you haven't even dealt with the last time. Exactly. You haven't dealt with the last stuff you came to say, but now we're talking about it again. Or do you know what I'm saying? I know you're adding something else to it. Do you know what I mean? So but it reminds me of a quote I've seen. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but the quote literally was, I don't know if I agree with it or just I don't know where I stand with it, but the quote literally says, if you're going to more than 3 people about the same problem, you don't want a solution, you want attention.
Ooh,
I think that's pretty spot on.
I don't agree.
Actually, wait.
That's the thing. Yeah, when I read it, I was like,
I'm half and half.
Yeah, I'm half and half. I'm half and half because I think it depends on.
Actually, I don't agree.
The reason why I say I'm half and half is because I think it depends on the person and the intention behind. Because there's some people, they are like that. They're telling every single person this is what's going on, and it's not because it's the example that you gave when you were saying how you can be telling someone a solution and they circle back and go back like, I don't want to hear that. Which I get it. Some people just want to vent, like they don't want to. I feel like everyone is different in a sense where when someone vents, some people want solutions, some people want comfort. So I feel like in the moment you have to discern and realize which one they want. But at the same time, the reason why I half agree with the quote is because there are some people like that, whereas they're telling different people, not even 3 people, more than 3 people, 5 people, everyone at their workplace knows what's going on in their life.
Some
people at home,
people as others, they just everyone like
that too. But it can be attention seeking, like, this is what's going on in my life. But then there's the reason why I disagree is because, say for example, if I'm coming to you with a problem and I'm going to you and I'm going to someone else, that's 3 people. That's not because I want attention. It's because I know each and every single one of you will give different advice.
That's what I was gonna say.
A different perspective.
Think it's necessarily attention
all the time.
all the time, because
it depends on the
definitely-
person and the attention behind
and
what
it
they're
depends on what's
saying.
being spoken about. Like you said, you do definitely want advice from more than one person. Imagine always having to go to that one person all the
And
time.
that can be
That's
emotional
then
dumping. Yeah.
because you do need, like, at the end of the day, I was out yesterday with some friends and we were literally talking about like having different friendship groups. Of course, like, we don't want to be self-centered and say, you know, we like our different friendship groups serve us in different ways, but sometimes it does. Like, different friendship groups are there for different reasons.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? What one person cannot do, someone else might
Every
be able
friend
to do.
serves a different purpose.
Do you know what I mean? So there's that too. So I don't know if I agree with that.
I feel like
It's definitely harsh though as well.
It's a harsh statement.
The way it's written is very harsh.
When you said that, whoa.
It's a harsh statement, and the reason I think I agreed straight away before I then thought about it was because I feel like it tends to be the case, especially with like people that lack a bit of emotional intelligence. A lot of the time it's more of you need to hear how these people treated me, and you need to like, and it's actually quite a negative way to be, because you're literally just trying to stir up emotion everywhere you go, which is not a good way to be. But I also agree that there are people that probably go to a select number of people because they want different perspectives, and I think people that are doing the second thing, so getting different perspectives, they're not going to be telling 10,000 people. They're usually telling a good selection of people that they view as someone with wise counsel, versus when it is the attention seeking people, they're going to tell anybody that's going to listen to them, because they want to be.
And you know, some people are just like that. They just some people just enjoy talking.
They can't help themselves, and I think that comes down to it does come down to a lack of
emotional
emotional intelligence. So
that's it. Literally, lack of
It
self-awareness. A lot of people that do that, they literally lack self-awareness, or maybe they don't lack self-awareness, but they just don't think there's anything wrong with it.
They do
just enjoy
well,
talking.
if you don't think there's anything wrong with it, you lack self-awareness. Only because, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very cognizant of how much I emotionally like divulge what's going on with me to my friends, only because I usually am the person people tend to tell everything to, so I know how it feels to be drained from hearing so much. I even feel I don't tell a lot of people my business, actually.
Right.
Really, but I feel
that.
like I'm the type of person, I deal with my problems by myself, and then I'll then come and be like, this is what was
What's
probably
going on.
that's what happened.
you know, you guys probably can vouch. I probably don't tell you guys in the midst of when I'm very upset, only because I know it's draining for a lot of people, and I know other people are going on with their lives, and I never want the balance to be more, I'm telling you what's going on, I'm going bad in my life, more than what I'm saying is good. Like, I want to be, I want it to be light and airy more time.
I get you.
So, and I'm very cognizant of that. So I personally think that comes with self-awareness and emotional intelligence.
Oh, for sure.
I think I'm similar.
Yeah, I feel like if you're always telling people what's going wrong, but you're never like, are you okay? Or just having light conversations.
Or
with
even
people,
able to share good news.
It's you're not self-aware, because you're not thinking about, wait, does that person actually, like, are they in a position,
happy,
do you know what I mean? Are they
is
in
that
a
person
position to
okay?
do this right now? Because literally yesterday was a good example for me. My brother's getting married this week, and it was very heavy for me yesterday. I was very, very upset, and like, I'm not the type in the moment of me being upset to express it to everybody, especially even my closest people, literally them, like, I don't usually, but yesterday I needed to, because I was crying, like, it was like heavy, but the way I will do it, I'm very intentional about it. I might not call you because I know that's very demanding of your time, or it might be draining, you might be doing something, so I'll just leave a message and I'll say, I just needed to vent, and that'll be it. So that at least when they've read it, they don't feel like they need to do anything. They just know that, I just know that, you know, it's like a comfort thing for me, maybe, and that's it.
And I feel like that's emotional intelligence, because I know in the moment, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, when you feel an emotion, when you're sad, it can be very, very heavy, and it can be very hard to have that outside perspective, like, okay, I still need to be mindful of how I say it, who I'm speaking to, how I'm relaying the message or whatever, blah 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 blah. But you need to, I feel like
you still need to think.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. You need to take, even if it's just a small moment, to be like, okay,
let me compose myself, let me breathe. Not saying don't be sad anymore, or just ignore that emotion or suppress it. Feel how you feel, but also just there's a level of composure. Because imagine now if I was that person that every time I was sad, I'm calling you guys, and instead of you guys hearing me talk, you hear me just crying. I'm saying once, twice, okay, but imagine every single time. That's a lot.
Answer the phone.
And you get annoyed. Honestly, it's very hard.
It's not like the other people.
It doesn't mean we don't care.
Exactly. I was literally going to say that. It doesn't mean that.
Good mood. This person can just bring it down.
Imagine
having that friend is just like, oh, like I can't actually speak to this person.
Or I can't share good news because I know they're gonna switch it and make it about themselves. Like, oh, so imagine now, say if God forbid, like one of these two gets married. Well, they're about to get married. You get engaged, and then you tell one of your other friends, and then they say, "Oh, when is it gonna be my turn?" Because like last week,
I'm so glad I don't have friends like that.
I'm sorry. That's
because I don't have. I don't really.
That's emotional dumping.
It's 100%.
That is a perfect example of emotional dumping, because you've taken something that's good for someone else, you've turned it around and made it about yourself.
Emotional dumping is very closely linked to self-centeredness a lot of the time as well.
And that's why I said entitlement, because self-centered.
I'm not sure if I said narcissism. She said, "Do you think it's linked to narcissism?" I feel like narcissism is quite heavy.
Yeah, it's extreme. Yeah,
but self-centeredness a little bit, or selfishness.
That's why I said entitlement as well.
Yes,
because to be self-centered, it's all about you. You need to meet my needs. You need to meet my expectations.
And if you don't say the right thing, then you're not even the right person. I need to go and tell somebody else that will back me up in how I'm really
if you don't say
feeling.
the answer that I want to hear, then it's not good advice. Then you're essentially not the person.
Some people generally don't mind being an inconvenience.
That's the thing, and because more time they're not thinking that they're an inconvenience. That's what I'm saying. They're not aware that that's how it's coming across.
So opposite.
So then I was gonna ask you, when it comes to relationships now, is there really a difference between emotional dumping and venting? The reason why I say that is because, say now when you're married to someone, that's your partner for life, right?
Let's just say you're boyfriend and girlfriend, because that relates to our scenario. I mean, we're not yet married, isn't it?
Okay. No, the reason why I use the marriage example is because I saw that episode of The Real, and they were literally saying as well how because 2 out of 4 of them are married, and they were saying how they're just very cautious on what they tell their husbands, and they essentially kind of suppress. And I didn't really agree with that, only because, and the reason why, this is why I use the marriage example, is that's someone that you're now living with, and my burden is your burden, my sorrow is your sorrow. So I don't want my husband to ever feel like, oh, I need to compose, I need to get myself together before I go home and sort of hide it. If she asks me if I'm okay, I'm gonna lie and say I'm fine, this happened but it's not that deep. Because I'm sorry, like, that's not to say that's what your husband or wife is there for, but essentially the reason why I say the reason why I ask is there any difference between emotional dumping and venting is because what about those moments, even in relationships, it can relate to this, what about those moments where if one person is going through a dark season, say if you've lost someone, you're grieving, and then you're not really in that time, you're not really, I don't want to say self-aware, but you're not yourself. So it's very easy to be that person where you emotionally dump. So it's kind of now like, so how do you navigate that?
Absolutely.
Is there a difference?
That was my bad. That was a really good question. I understand why you use the marriage context, because that's actually really true. I feel like my opinion on like how much you divulge to your romantic partner and your friends is that you should, in essence, be able to tell the person you're with everything. But I think what the women on The Real were trying to say, if I'm talking about the same episode you're referring to, is, men are different to women. And in my previous relationship, one thing he used to say to me is, you can't always emotionally offload on me expecting a certain type of reaction, because there's a reaction my girls will be able to give me that will probably be better
from your man.
Than your man, because they get it from a female's perspective, and they can mirror how you feel more than him. Men tend to be a lot more logical when it comes to when you're bringing them something. They'll be like, oh, you should maybe do this.
So why didn't you do that? Why didn't you say that? Whereas your girls will probably be like, what?
Empathize with you. And so in that regard, I think it's more about how you're bringing it to your man. So say for instance something has happened. So I still think there's a difference between emotional dumping and venting, because say for instance I'm just expressing, oh, this happened to my man. Say for instance I would never want our relationship to become a place that is lacking peace. So it's not every time I'm bringing something to you that it's in the heat of the moment.
But then what if it's out of your control? Because it's not every time.
And that's the thing. Those are not constant occurrences. Those are always one-off things.
But that can still be emotionally dumping though.
It can,
because it can be. When I say out of your control, it can be going on for a period of time.
Yeah, exactly. But then that person that you're married to would be aware of that, and they'll know, they have to also have the emotional intelligence and understanding to be like, okay, this is a season that she's going through, and that's not emotional dumping. You need to be, you literally need to be that person's rock during that time, and that's why I would still say there's a difference, because there's a different person that needs to be there for that person during that time versus everyday life.
That makes sense.
Do you get what I mean?
That makes sense.
I fully agree, and I think it also depends on, like, of course we can't predict what's going to happen in the future and how we're going to react to things, but I think it highly depends on the sort of person you are, like the personality you have. I'm not like an emotion. I don't think I am. I don't.
Yeah, I know.
I
I'm
don't
not.
really enjoy
You're not
talking
at
about
all.
myself and my issues.
You're not
Yeah.
at all.
I've only recently started doing that, and it's very minimal. Like I do that to a small degree, like you know. So
It's interesting. We are all like that.
yeah. I've never really been a type to really talk about myself. Like, do you know that? I remember back then, like I used to even forget to tell you things. You remember?
Oh yeah.
And then we'll just
and
come
you
up-
talk about it and you be like, oh, did I not tell you?
say it? Do you
Yeah,
know what
I remember
so
that.
It's like, I just, honestly, I'm so happy dealing with things for myself. Like, it's so scary. And I mean that in friendship and relationship. Like, one thing I don't want to be to anyone, and I know I've used this word before, is an inconvenience. And even if to someone else I might not be an inconvenience, I feel like I am. That's why sometimes, of course, being self-aware is a great thing, but then it can be, for me,
It can be negative
it's
as
actually
well.
very negative, because the way I've seen it, I've had talks about it in my friendship groups, even in relationships as well, where they've been like, why don't you talk about yourself? Why don't you tell us? Do you not trust me? Or do you know what I mean? I was like, it's not that. Of course I trust you, but I just don't talk about it.
That's just not how I
It's
deal
just
with
That's not how.
I
Yeah,
am.
that's not how you deal with it.
I would just rather deal with it myself, honestly, and then maybe, like Ayo said, we can talk about it later.
Later, when
So
it's
then,
part. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So then let's talk about me in like a marriage scenario. Like Ayo literally said, like, it's gonna be more of a seasonal thing if I have to emotionally dump because the situation has happened. It's not me in general, but you never know what could happen in life where you have to emotionally dump, you know? So if I'm talking to my partner about something, that is my husband. I should, like you said, you shouldn't need to hide.
Never.
Yeah.
Well, imagine not trying to repress and not say things. Do you know what I mean? You've got to speak.
That can cause you to explode later down the
know
line,
what
and
I
that's
mean?
worse than emotional dumping, because
know what I mean?
her.
Because
Like
you
I-
should. Sorry, go on.
And I was gonna say, the person that you're, I don't want to sound so like cliche and say, oh, the person you're with should understand, but really and truly they should.
Yeah.
Because if you're not someone that do it like that, you're not the type of person that does it quite often, but the situation is making you do something differently, they will definitely see that.
They'll know, like, okay, like, she's genuinely going through it, and she
I know
needs
I would
someone.
feel that way if it was the other way around.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I'm very happy for my husband to tell me
Mate,
everything.
same. Me, that's what my life has been
I'm
since
so good. I'm calm.
forever.
Talk to me about anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to hear you.
That part.
I feel like what you're saying is so true, because I think when you're in a marriage, you need to have, you almost have to learn to have the emotional capacity to handle things like that for your partner. You need to be,
Because you're a
And-
team now.
Exactly. And it will change. You can't then also be that person for everybody in your life anymore. It will change the dynamics. Like that would naturally change.
Yeah.
Which I think leads on to like the other question we wanted to discuss is, do you think your friends and or your romantic partner should be like your therapist? Like how much should, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, go.
No, I don't think so. I'm not gonna lie. I do not think so, because there's a reason why we have therapists, first of all. Like, it's a whole, do you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people do frown upon therapy, especially black people. It's like a taboo not to go to therapy. And some people don't understand therapy. They don't know what it does for you. I was like, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Fair enough if you don't understand it and you don't feel like it's for you. Absolutely fine. But then to take all your problems to one person, because therapy, a lot of people confuse therapy for finding solutions. That's not what therapy is always about. Sometimes it is. You do end up, success rate is high. You can find solutions to your problem. But another solution could generally just be speaking about your situation. That can be a solution in itself. But people go to therapy trying to find an actual solution. Like, how can I sort out my life? Fix it. Yalla, fix me. Do you get what I mean? So
I get that.
So if you then have that same expectations for your friends, for your family, people that are going through their own stuff, that
You're setting
It's not
yourself
that
up for
they've still
disappointment.
got
Oh, heavy.
That's
Heavily.
therapy is a job in itself. So they've got their full-time job, and then they've now got another job of listening to you, expecting you to give them solutions to their life
Every
Yeah.
time.
That's what I think of when I think of should your friends or your relative or people or your relationship
your
should they be your
therapist.
therapist? That's what I think of.
Yeah.
No, they shouldn't.
No, yeah.
I agree. That's gonna be my answer as well. No, because if you actually look at the word therapist, and I know I've realized when people answer this, they try to like a friend should be confident, but that's not what the question says. It says therapist. And if you look at the role of a therapist and what they do, there's a reason why people go to university and get a degree and PhD to be therapist, because it's serious.
It's
like
serious.
that stuff is heavy. There are people going to see therapy for like heavy things,
extremely,
and you want me that I've only studied media.
Some people go
to be therapist.
Some people go.
You're
into
lying.
therapy. Literally, I feel like I'm the type of person that would go to therapy, like, because at the end of the day, you don't always have to have a problem.
You
to go to
shouldn't
therapy.
have to.
Mhm. Yeah, of course
Therapy
not.
is just good. in
Therapy
general.
is something you can go into, potentially not thinking there's anything wrong with you, coming back and thinking, wow, I feel
Yeah.
like that's me. I could be that person. So how can I expect my friends to do that?
Yeah,
How?
they're not qualified.
Some of you, your friends are even telling you, they're calling you out for your rubbish behavior and you don't like it, but you want them to be your therapist.
So how are they going to be your therapist?
If you can't even handle small criticism or correction.
You guys have said it all.
It's not
but
making sense.
My only thing I want to add is that's a lot of pressure to put on anybody in your life.
A lot
That
of
part.
I know that I know how it feels to be somebody's therapist.
Yes.
So do I.
Like I really do, and not that I feel like God has given me a capacity to really be there for people.
I was gonna say,
100%.
there's
So
that too.
I do think I handle it well, but I know what it takes out of me. I know how it can really mess me up, like, and make me feel like I don't have the capacity to do anything else because or
Drains you.
It can even ruin a relationship. I'm not even gonna lie, because that relationship then becomes almost like a burden on your back.
Right.
Like it then taints how you even see that person.
Right.
Because
That is
everything, every
right.
time they, you know what I'm saying? Every time they
Facts.
interact with you, it's never,
Just
light and airy and
It's always
free.
heavy.
It's always, you need to
Surface
help me. You
level.
need to help me. You need to help me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a lot of pressure
my
to put on.
days. Yeah.
Even, and people say, but
It's
what
unfair.
about your partner? Even still your partner. That's why you're supposed to have friends outside of your relationship.
Right.
You can't just be telling your husband you can tell him stuff, but I'm saying you can't emotionally be dumping on him as your therapist every single day of your life. Your
Yeah.
home will not be a safe space. Your home will not be a peaceful place.
It's unfair. Every season is just darkness.
Darkness.
Wow.
It's unfair. It's
not
actually
fair.
very
Even in
unfair.
summer, it's black in your house.
Yeah. The sun is not coming into the house. It's black.
It
You're not
Same.
opening the curtains.
And
The curtains are open. It's still black.
And that's the thing, put yourself in the person's shoes, innit? If, for instance, think about, say if you're an emotional dumper, just put yourself in the person that you dump on shoes. If someone was doing that to you every single day, or even, it doesn't even have to be every day, even if it's every month, every week, think about how much it would rack up on you as a person, and then let that navigate how
That's
you then go about emotionally expressing yourself. Because I need this to be very clear. I'm a big advocate for expressing yourself completely, not suppressing your emotions.
100%.
So please don't mince what we're saying and think that's what we're saying. I think you should always express how you feel. That doesn't mean you emotionally dump. That means you think through your emotions and see, actually, the way I'm feeling right
There's
now.
a way to do it.
Does it require the reaction I'm giving it? Does it require the anger that I'm allowing myself to go to? Those are things. Self-regulating your emotions is something a lot of people refrain from doing, but you need to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
You need to learn how
You
to
do.
and you need to learn how to
Self-regulate.
identify
What you're actually feeling.
Yeah.
And control your reactions to things, because not everything requires a reaction.
Not everything requires an
I was gonna
audience
say,
as well.
You need to
That
identify
part.
when it's time to go therapy as well.
That too.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes what happens with emotional dumpers is that they think everything they feel requires an audience. It doesn't. There's a lot of things I feel that don't even leave my lips, because when I then think about how I'm feeling, I'm like, they probably didn't mean it that way, or maybe it didn't actually happen in that way, or maybe I'm very emotionally
you're taking
charged
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And those are things that people don't do. They just go, I'm feeling this,
And that's it.
That's
Well,
it.
every single thing, every little thing is
must-
you're here already.
And that's unhealthy. You need to learn how to regulate. And I think that's what I love about this new trend with parenting called gentle parenting, where parents try to because I think what we lacked growing up, our parents didn't know how to do this, but like teaching children how to identify what emotion they're feeling in that moment. Is it fear? Is it confusion? Is it
frustration,
whatever?
anger, whatever?
That helps. It really does help with regulating your feelings and your emotions. It helps you not to go to extremes every single time. And then you then have you have a good temperament to then go and approach whoever you want to confide in and vent to. So
that's great stuff, you know. Wow.
You know, we've
That's
got a
literally
psychologist right here with us. Psychology graduate.
Masters. She knows what she's saying.
How did it switch to me, right?
I just need them to know that she's about it.
That's it. She knows what she's talking about.
No rap in my cap. No cap in my rap.
Bye.
So yeah, guys, if you loved this episode, please share. Well, even if you didn't love it, let us know your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, even if you disagree with us, like anything that I've said or whatever we've said, just let us know in the comments down below. You know, we always engage, we always respond back.
Always.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear from you guys.
Thank you, darling.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.